don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the videos here, please know that every single piece of content you watch is a true labor of love. Seriously, I pour my heart and soul into this channel. You see the final product, but you might not see the hours of research, the late nights spent editing, and the constant effort to learn new skills just to bring you the best possible videos. I strive hard to make sure the content is always high quality, insightful, and entertaining for you. It's a demanding process, but it's completely worth it to share this journey with you. If you appreciate that effort and want to help the channel grow, the single best thing you can do is hit that subscribe button. Subscribing is completely free, but it makes a massive difference to me. It tells me that the hard work is paying off and motivates me to push even further, create better videos, and keep this channel alive. So, if you want to be the first to catch the next video, if you want to support the grind, and if you want to be an active part of this community, please click the subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And give the video a like. Thanks so much for watching and for all your incredible support. I truly couldn't do this without you.
Picture this. It's 1946. The British Empire is packing its bags, getting ready to leave India for good. But the massive subcontinent they've ruled for centuries, it's a powder keg, teetering on the brink of a horrifying civil war. This is the story of one last, desperate roll of the dice to try and hold it all together.
And we're not just talking about politics here. We're talking about the lives of 400 million people. That was nearly a fifth of the entire world's population at the time, and their futures all hung in the balance.
So, let's get right into it. The question facing everyone was just enormous. Was it even possible? Could a single, incredibly complicated political plan stop a violent division and actually create a stable, united, independent India?
To really get this, you have to understand the setting. It's right after World War II. Britain is completely exhausted and more than ready to decolonize. But every attempt to figure out India's future, like the Cripps mission in 42 or the Shimla Conference in 45, had completely failed. And the tensions between India's two major political parties were at a boiling point.
You see, the two sides had visions that were just fundamentally opposed. On one hand, you had the Indian National Congress, which represented the majority, and they were fighting for one single unified nation. But on the other, you had the Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and they argued that India's Muslims were a separate nation entirely and that they absolutely needed their own independent state, Pakistan, just to survive. This wasn't a simple political disagreement, it was a clash of two totally irreconcilable futures.
So, you might be asking, why did Britain care so much about keeping India in one piece? Well, it wasn't just about sentiment. There were some cold, hard, strategic calculations going on. A united India was way better for Britain's military interests, as a solid partner against Soviet influence in the new Cold War. It also kept all the economic and trade networks intact. And frankly, it protected their imperial legacy. Having India break apart would look like a massive failure, a shattering of the very unity they always claimed to have built.
And so, they made their last big move. The British Prime Minister, Clement Attlee, sent three of his top guys, Pethick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander, to Delhi to try and hammer out a deal that, until then, had been absolutely impossible. This wasn't just another meeting. This was it. This was the final gamble to save a united India.
After weeks of getting nowhere, unable to get the Congress and the League to agree on anything, the mission realized they had to come up with their own solution. And what they devised was, well, it was ingenious, but also incredibly complex.
Okay, so the mission starting point was really clear. They flat out rejected the demand for a totally separate, sovereign Pakistan. Instead, they proposed this really unique three-level federal structure. It was designed to give the Muslim League a ton of autonomy while technically keeping India united.
The structure they came up with was pretty radical. Think of it like a single house, but with three separate wings. At the very top, you'd have a very, very weak central government. It would only handle the absolute basics: defense, foreign affairs, and communications. That's it. The real power? That was in the lower two tiers. Provinces would be bundled together into groups, and these groups could form their own governments. And then, at the bottom, the individual provinces would hold all the remaining powers. It was this radical idea of giving everyone maximum autonomy. And here's how it broke down. The plan sorted all the provinces into three big groups: Group A was all the Hindu majority provinces in the middle of India. Group B was the Muslim majority areas in the northwest, basically what would become West Pakistan. And Group C was Bengal and Assam over in the northeast, the future East Pakistan. This grouping system was the absolute heart of the compromise, made to give Muslims control over their own regions without actually splitting the country in two.
And here's the crazy part. For one brief, shining moment, it looked like it was actually going to work. Both the Muslim League and the Congress Party accepted the plan. But, and this is a huge but, they did it for dangerously different reasons. The whole deal was balanced on a knife edge of complete and total distrust.
In a private letter, Jinnah laid his cards on the table. The Muslim League didn't see this plan as a permanent solution at all. For them, it was a strategic stepping stone. The thinking was, once they got those provincial groups, B and C, up and running, nothing could stop them from just breaking away later. They were going to build a kind of proto-Pakistan from right inside the Indian Union.
Congress, meanwhile, had the exact opposite interpretation and the exact opposite fears. They saw the plan as the only way to avoid partition, but they hated the idea of a weak central government. They felt it would be impossible to modernize the country or fight poverty. And crucially, as Jawaharlal Nehru argued, they believed that once India had its own sovereign government, it wouldn't be legally bound by the mission's plan anyway.
So you've got this absolutely impossible situation, right? You have two parties agreeing to the same words on a piece of paper, but they have completely contradictory ideas about what those words actually mean for the future. One side saw it as the path to Pakistan, the other saw it as the path to preventing Pakistan. The entire compromise depended on a level of trust that simply was not there at all.
And then, just like that, the fragile deal completely shattered. The trigger? A single press conference. A single moment that would literally change the course of history for the entire subcontinent.
The whole thing collapsed with shocking speed. In early June, the Muslim League agrees to the plan. Just 1 month later, on July 10th, Nehru gives his fateful press conference. He says publicly that Congress is not bound by the details of the plan. Less than 3 weeks after that, the Muslim League officially pulls out. The gamble had failed, spectacularly.
So why was this one speech so catastrophic? Well, for the Muslim League, that mandatory grouping of provinces was the entire point of the deal. It was their quasi-Pakistan. Nehru's statement sounded like proof that Congress never intended to honor that part of the deal, that they would just use their majority to create a powerful central government and crush the very protections the League had fought for. To Jinnah, it was nothing short of treachery.
With the political solution dead and buried, the conflict moved from the negotiating table directly to the streets. The failure of the mission unleashed a truly horrifying wave of violence.
Feeling completely betrayed and with no political options left, the Muslim League called for a direct action day to show Muslim strength and to push for the creation of Pakistan by any means necessary.
The result was what became known as the Great Calcutta Killing. In just the first 72 hours, more than 5,000 people were slaughtered in brutal communal riots that quickly spread across India. The political breakdown now had an unbearable, bloody human cost.
This explosion of violence was the point of no return. It convinced leaders on all sides, including powerful figures in the Congress Party like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, that a united India was just no longer possible. Partition, which was once the worst-case scenario, suddenly seemed like the only way to stop the country from ripping itself apart in a full-blown civil war. And so the failure of the cabinet mission really marked the end of any realistic hope for a united India. The chain of events it set off, that breakdown of trust, the call for direct action, and the horrific violence that followed made partition all but inevitable.
And that leaves us with this final, haunting question. Was the cabinet mission's plan a brilliant compromise that came this close to succeeding, or was it an impossible dream from the very start, doomed by decades of distrust that no political formula, no matter how clever, could ever hope to solve? It's a question that continues to shape the history of South Asia to this very day.